Okay, so dividing numbers written in scientific notation, so we're going to keep thinking of them as two separate parts. So I have 9 times 10 to the 9th, and then divided by 2 times 10 to the 5th. So I really can think of it as 9 times, instead of the x, 10 to the 9th, divided by 2 times 10 to the 5th. All right, so I really can think of it coefficients, so 9 divided by 2. I want to think of that as a decimal. 9 divided by 2 is 4.5, or I can do longhand for it, but 4.5. And then times, because I'm going to talk scientific notation. Now because I want that 4.5 not to be a fraction, I want it to be a number in the numerator. I'm always going to take whatever the top exponent is for my scientific notation, and I'm going to subtract the bottom. So it's always going to be whatever the top was. So it's going to be 10 minus 5. So I'm going to have 4.5. Which is scientific notation. I have 1 digit to the left of the decimal, and times 10, but 9 minus 5 is 4. Okay, so putting that in should not be too bad. 4.5 times 10 to the 4th. Check. Okay, so I do it in parts, and we're going to look at the next problem with that. All right, so this time I have 8 times 10 to the 8th divided by 4 times 10 to the 5th. This is a nice one because 8 divided by 4 is 2. And I'm going to go times 10 to the top exponent is 8 minus 5. So this is going to be 2 times 10 to the 3rd. So you should be getting decent numbers to begin with for the start of these. I don't think it's going to have you divide by anything ugly. It's picking numbers that aren't too bad. Dividing by 5 isn't horrible. When we think about that, it might be a little worse than you'd like to think about it, but it's not terrible. Okay, so we have 9 times 10 to the 9th divided by 5 times 10 to the 2nd. All right, so 5 goes into 9. That we have to think about if we want to think old school. 5 goes into 9. It does go in there once, and that will leave you with 4 left over. So it'll be, if I wanted to write it as a fraction, 1 4/5. I like to think decimals, in which case I have to multiply by 2. So it's really 1.8. And I could have done that also as putting a 0 here with my decimal. And then instead of the fraction, 5 goes into 40 8 times. So a bunch of different ways to think about this. So this is going to be the 9 over 5 is 1.8. And however you want to think of division, you can, but it has a no calculator button. So you do have to do it by hand. And then it's always going to be the numerator minus the denominator. So 9 minus 2. So our final answer that we're going to type in here is 1.8, which is in scientific notation. It's got that one number and a decimal. And that one number can't start with a 0. And then 10 to the 9 minus 2 is 7. All right, and we can move on to the next video.